The Mental Brew podcast, sponsored by Sentinel Computers, your partner in IT security and support, keeping your business safe. Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Mental Brew podcast. My name is Denis. I'm here today with David McHugh, sports psychologist. David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to the chat.
No, thanks for coming on. You've been on my hit list for a while, so I'm absolutely delighted to get to chat to you. I suppose starting off, David, why do you do what you do?
Ooh, big question to start.
Yeah.
Why do I do what I do? I always go when people ask me this. I always go back to suppose when I was playing myself. So I played soccer, football, depending on where you are in the world. If you're in the US, it's soccer. If you're maybe in Ireland, UK, it's football. So I'll say football. Um, so would have been playing when I was younger. Broke my leg at 16. It was out for 12 months. And then never really probably got back to the level I thought I was capable of before the injury.
Mm,
Then went to college, studied psychology. Remember sitting in my first lecture and they were saying about all the career paths in psychology, and one of the career paths was they had like clinical, forensic, and one of them was sport, and I didn't even know it was a thing.
yeah,
And this person sitting beside me was like, "Oh, you'd be good at that." I
yeah,
didn't really think of it, but I do think back to that moment and realizing, oh, there is this thing called sports psychology. So I did my undergraduate, and then sort of re-piqued my interest in this area of sports psychology. So I had to do a postgrad diploma, and then went on to do a master's, professional doctorate, all that. But I suppose the reason I got in is because as an athlete, you're trying to understand one yourself, but then two, um, I started then transitioning more into coaching and started coaching at like 16 years of age,
yeah,
and like a local under eights team. And yeah, wasn't a good coach and wanted to improve and was always fascinated about like the coach has such an impact on the psychology of a group.
yeah,
So that was the main reason why I wanted to get into sports psychology as I transitioned more into a coach, was to understand, well, what makes a good coach,
mm,
the impact the coach has on an athlete. And I thought a lot of people focus on the physical side
yeah.
of training, and not a lot of people were focusing on the mental side. So that was the second reason why I got into sports psychology. And two things that really stay with me now is, can I help the coach do sports psychology and implement principles of sports psychology in their practice?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, how can we help athletes that are struggling, particularly injured athletes? I think it's a real mental challenge that maybe isn't appreciated as much as it should.
And I suppose with that, even with the injured athlete, and obviously, look, we'll get to the teams you're with and everything else, but you've obviously got a massive body of experience. I suppose looking at, was it the injured athlete who might have to retire because of injury or to commit for a prolonged period of time, or even the athlete who has to transition out of sport? How would you find those conversations without obviously just staying general without getting
Yeah.
specific? But how are those conversations? Because like, before we both logged on, I was just on my phone and the a video from Ricky Hatton's funeral kind of came up. I
Mm.
know it's well documented his struggles with transitioning out of the sport. Like how do you deal with those conversations? I suppose and what kind of follow up was there? Because if you know, look, geez, Dennis was a high level athlete. He's really struggling. You know, how do you like not take that problem home with you as well? I know it's a very long winded question, but
Yeah. I think the first thing with, let's say, the athlete transitioning out of sport or going through an injury, what I find with the transition out of sport is like working with professional athletes, they're so engrossed in the day to day, and they need to be like they've
yeah,
got to perform every 7 days. And people think of an athlete and they think, oh, look at all the spare time they have. But let's say they're in the building at 9 a.m.,
yeah,
team meetings at 10 a.m., they're either team meetings or training or treatment right up till, let's say, 2. And then, yeah, they've got the rest of the day free, but they're physically exhausted
yeah,
and mentally exhausted from that block of time in the building. So it's actually very hard to do additional work or
Okay.
experience. And in the US context, I think it's even more challenging because the travel.
Yes.
Even away game, it's 2 to 3 days on the road minimum. Sometimes you could go on the road for 10 days because you got two West Coast trips or two West Coast games.
Yeah.
So a lot of time away from friends, family. You probably move city, so you don't have that same support network. So the team is your support network. So then trying to fit in, I don't know, like personal development time or trying to plan for life after sport can be a challenge. Not to say it's not done, it is done, but it is a real challenge. And you'll only get a couple of hours in their window for that. And certain times of the season as well is an opportunity. So I suppose to answer that part of your question, it's not as easy for athletes, particularly professional athletes, to prepare for that as it might seem.
Yeah.
But then it's maximizing the time that they do have, but also trying to use any personal development time, like internships. We've got some players who do internships, um, and some players that have volunteered
Yeah.
because what it does is it just gives them a different perspective, and it's actually another form of recovery,
Okay.
mental recovery. So it's trying to frame it in that way. But if they're looking to prepare for life after sport, the biggest challenge is for athletes that are so focused on the day to day, you nearly need to be, they nearly need to be ready for the conversation. Because if you bring it up and you repeatedly bring it up and they're not ready, well, that's going to be a resistance,
Yeah.
and they're not going to be open to it. So it's to bring it up, to plant a seed for the moment that they're ready. And they'll generally come to you when they're ready to have that conversation. But it's about planting a seed 12 months out
Yeah.
so that they know who to go to and what to do if and when they have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And then I think your second question was around just how do you like the self-care of the practitioner.
Yeah.
I think for me it's exercise, gym, looking after myself. Uh, Days off are key on the team schedule that you've got to get your rest in then. And then it's just making sure for me it's connecting with like why I do the work
Yeah.
and connecting with the purpose behind the work. And yeah, you might have a difficult conversation or a challenging conversation, but you're it's recognizing why you're there. And that gives you the balance and perspective. And it might be a difficult conversation, but there's no better feeling when somebody turns around and says, yeah, that really helped.
Yeah.
Gives you the purpose to know that you've made an impact on someone that day. And it might only be a quick conversation. It
Yeah.
might not be too long of a conversation. But if it can impact somebody like that, that purpose, I think gives you perspective to go again.
And you're based over in the States now, in Washington. What was, I suppose, first of all, what was that decision like, to make that jump? Because obviously going into your profession that you love, that you're passionate about, but still, it's still a big decision to do because obviously we would have met, as I said, when you were with
Yeah.
Satanta, in Thomond Park and there was a conference on. I suppose, what was that? What was involved in that decision? And I suppose, how did you kind of wrestle with maybe the fear of going over to the unknown, essentially?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Ireland, the US, big change. Another big factor in it was um, the league in the NWSL.
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact year, but I think it was 2012 when like it started. There was a previous league before that, and there's been a lot of like um, it's the league has been in the news a lot. One for maybe a lack of investment and clubs going defunct, and then two, abuse scandals in the league as well.
yeah.
So initially, when I was offered a role, there were some things in my mind. So when I started initially, I actually started as a consultant,
Okay, cool.
um, because of those reasons as well, but also because I was in Ireland and I was happy in Ireland. So worked as a consultant for a while, seen that the investment in the club by the owner Michelle Kang, uh, I felt it was like a legitimate investment and that it was an opportunity for the club to like really grow.
Yeah,
Um, Her philosophy and approach is train women as women, and two, to be the best in the world, not just in the women's game, but be the best sporting organization in the world. And when you've got somebody that has that vision,
yeah,
it's not just a vision, there's clear actions being put in place.
Yeah.
to try and bring that vision to life. It makes you want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And that's the type of organizations I enjoy working in, um, that people are striving to be the best that they can be, but also make the most of everything that they have. So there was a lot of factors. I was a bit hesitant at the start, but once I got there, seeing the people and the work that they were doing, it sort of gave me the motivation and push to say, well, this isn't a risk, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, have to do your due diligence in a way too, based on the history of any organization, um, and then build up the trust in the building, and then I eventually made the move out to be full time with the club as well.
That's unreal. And this was what's your this was is there a standard day? What's your week like? You know, are you involved? I presume we do workshops one to ones, but like you're involved in the pitch during training, or what does it look like?
Yeah, so what it looks like is, so there's a typical, let's say, training week. It might be a 4 day lead-in game on the fifth day, and then recovery day on the sixth, and then a day off, let's say, on the seventh.
Yeah.
So let's say our typical week is match day -4 might be re-entry day. So it's just getting the players moving again. Then you might have match day -3 intensive, which is maybe 2v2s, 3v3s,
Yeah.
more short space work. Then could be extensive on match day -2, and then match day -1, you're tapering down into the game. And then match day and then recovery the day after. And then the players who don't play, you've got like top ups, and you've got, let's say there's 8 players that don't play, they'll have a proper training session the day after the game, and then we'll have a day off after that. So that's like a typical week. Now there's variations in that depending on days to the next game, but let's say that's the shell of the week.
Yeah.
Then the detail of the day would be in for morning meetings. So players would fill in their wellness, and then as a staff, we would have morning meetings within our department, and then we'd come together as a medical and performance, and then we go and meet the technical staff. So things that might come up there is just checking on player wellness. How are they getting on? What's the structure of the week? What's the structure of today's training session? Is there any individual needs required for players? We're also thinking in the technical meeting a little bit about, okay, what's the opponent we're playing this weekend? How can we prepare the team? Is there any challenges that tactically, technically, physically, psychologically that we can plan in the week? And on particular days to help the team perform that weekend. So an example of ways we might plan a week from a mental perspective would look like, and we can change it, we're flexible with it. We can, let's say on an extensive day, when you do 11v11 or 9v9,
Mm.
whatever it is, you might have one team ahead and one team behind, and we'll train those moments of the game. So
Yeah.
we'll train in like a game state. So that could be one option. We could do that on different days. Another day, we might say we are going to referee this training session really like badly,
Yeah.
because and we're going to drive that emotional intensity and competitiveness,
Yeah.
because we know the players are going to experience bad calls at some stage. And then another approach we sometimes might use would be a like split the training week into different time periods of the game. So first training session of the week is the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
The second training session is the period before half time. The third one is the period after half time. And then the day before the game is the final 15 minutes. So we're training time periods as well.
Yeah.
So how you start the week is how you start the game.
Okay.
How we
Very good.
finish the week is how we finish the game. So that's just an example of like 3 different ways of trying to integrate the mental side within the shell of the week, as I said,
Yeah.
like the periodized plan. But then other things that we focus on a lot is the messaging of the coach. So I come from a coaching background, so I've done all of my UEFA badges,
Yeah.
as far as UEFA A Elite. So I've been a coach, and I think I can appreciate how to integrate it within the training sessions, but also help the coach send a message for the week. So a big thing we focus on is like the message for the week, or the setting a tone for the week
Yeah.
based on what's happened before, but it was also happening this week. And that sort of sets a mental challenge, or atmosphere for the week. And linked with that, I'm not a big fan of like culture in terms of words on a wall.
Okay.
The reason why is you'll always have new staff and players coming into like an organization,
Yeah.
and they haven't been part of creating those values and what
Yeah.
they do. So I think we always need to be creating and evolving our meaning within a group.
Yeah.
So one thing we'll focus on is like the words we use, but we'll always get the players to come up with words using different types of activities. So then we might have 25 words and we'll set a different word for a week.
Yeah.
So I don't know, trying to think of a word right now. Could be relentless. So a
Yeah.
player might have said this is a word that they feel represents their identity, and they'll give a description in a meeting of what that means.
Okay.
In some week, based on the opponent we're playing this weekend or our last game, things we need to work on, we'll use that word and use their meaning. And what we're trying to do that week is discover the meaning behind that word. We're not going to define it before, and we're going to define it as we go through the week. So now we're
Unreal.
discovering the meaning.
Yeah.
And we'll try and use that in the game this weekend. And then the coach has the opportunity. They don't have to. They use it sometimes. They don't use it other times. They can use that word in their team talk before the game and bring a bigger
Yes.
meaning and use examples of the training week and the meaning of that word for that week to then set like a message and a cultural tone for that
Unreal.
training, but also that game. So um, that's like another thing focus on. I suppose the final thing then is you're observing training, you're trying to pick things out, you're helping where you can. You go into your meetings after training with your performance and medical staff, and then you go in and meet the coaches. And then you're meeting any players one on one, let's say between lunch and end of day meetings. Yeah, there's workshops, leadership group, delivering group educational sessions, and then just your general one-on-ones when you can fit them in around the player schedule. So
Unreal. And I suppose how you finding the lifestyle over in America compared to Ireland? Is a lot of getting used to? Are you enjoying it? Do you have much time to sightsee? You sound fairly busy.
yeah, the lifestyle. So Washington Spirit is based in Washington DC, but we're actually about an hour outside in Virginia.
Okay.
In a place called, not far from a place called Leesburg. Very nice area to live. A lot of good food options, coffee spots, lots of nice breweries as well. It's known for breweries. So,
Yeah.
uh, I get to frequent them when I can. But it's a nice spot. Lots of green spaces outside the city. The weather is very good
Yeah.
most of the year, which really helps. So yeah, nice spot, nice area, nice people as well. And yeah, then a club, an organization that's ambitious as well, which gives you
Brilliant.
motivation going in every day.
I can have a question there for you, and I suppose, as we said before I recorded, I'd be throwing in questions here now that are kind of selfish
Yeah,
for myself more than anything. Um, how do you find, right? We're with a new team, and I suppose I'll give you the context. I was doing my master's, as we said, in Waterford.
yeah,
For anyone listening, it was brilliant. I've a fair few degrees in this, but that was by far the most enjoyable
yeah,
experience. It was brilliant. But I decided then to chance my arm, and I suppose I've been chancing my arm since. But I basically reached out to Aoife Fitzgerald, who was the Waterford senior football manager at the time. And lucky enough, I just caught him. He said, "Yeah, look, we'll have a meeting." So I prepared for the meeting, and we're all this kind of crack. And long story short, okay, went in as their psych or sport performance coach, whatever you want to call it, while doing my masters. So that was, a baptism by fire, essentially, right? But I can remember going in to the dressing room the first time I met the players. And I'd be quiet or shy enough when I don't know people, and I remember being unbelievably uncomfortable. And I had to push myself just to, how are you getting on? Shake the hands, whatever else. But between you and me and the people listening, I hated every second of that. And it's the same with every group you go to now. For me, it's like trying to wear a bit of a mask where like, just how are you getting on? And you're really outgoing. How do you find that side of things? And even you could use any team you want, but even going into Washington, the very first session, like because ultimately people need to look at people like yourself, and myself to a lesser extent as, oh, this fella is, or this girl or this guy or girl is approachable, is friendly, um, is an ally or a benefit to me as the athlete.
Yeah.
So you're trying to be outgoing and approachable, whereas if you're really shy and kind of more inward, they're kind of going, not too sure, will I go to this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And that that is always the balance. It's like how do you go about presenting yourself? What do you wear? Do you wear the kit or do you not?
Yeah,
I vary between both. Um, and like that's making a conscious decision on how you want to present yourself. Do you want to present yourself as part of the coaching team, or do you want to present yourself as part of like separate to that? And
yeah,
that's represented a little bit in what you wear. Um, but I think the way to get comfortable in a way, I don't know if you're ever fully comfortable like in a high performance environment. There's always things going up and down, results, player form. And the biggest thing to develop a little bit more comfort is to meet the players, um, make it clear how you work, help make it understandable to them. I'm trying to think when I went in to Washington, I gave a presentation to staff and players. And I went through, this is how I work, this is who I am, this is my journey. And there was one slide that really stuck out because some players mentioned it to me after. And I
mm,
went through when we have our first meeting, these are likely, I had 10 questions that I might ask.
yeah,
I said, we won't follow it structured like this, but these are likely the questions I'm going to ask. And gave like a quick reason why. So it was like, tell me your journey as a player, your best performance, your worst performance. How did your coach help you? What was the best environment you were part of? What can we do to help you? Any mental health challenges before? I went through like my framework and I asked them, which one do you think would help you the most? What can we do in the short term to start working on that? And I went through that slide, and a couple of players after went, and they were like, when I sat down with them, they said, I'd never worked with a mental performance coach before, but like those questions sort of demystified it because it was just like a conversation.
yes,
Um, and then the other part is just being clear on confidentiality. And one of the important things, and I remember the manager at the time encouraged me to do this, was I presented to the leadership group first.
okay.
So straight away when I went in to present to the team, I'd already spoken
The league got
to
them
the
on site.
leadership group. And I remember we went to training that night and it was off-site. And because I'd presented to those players first, they knew me. It was over Zoom, but they
Yeah,
knew me. So that when we went there, I could have conversations with those players. And
yes.
then the other players seeing, oh, well, there's one of our leading players speaking with
Okay,
mental
really,
performance
yeah.
coach. So that wasn't me, that was the head coach, but it was a smart move in my
Great,
opinion.
yeah, really smart move.
Yeah, yeah. I think that just helps you feel comfortable, but then also
Yes.
the players are more comfortable because they can just, oh, I've already met that person. I'm going to welcome them to the group.
Yeah, yeah. There's even a lot in that for anyone listening who is, doing a master's or an undergrad or a PhD or whatever. And even with your doctorate, I suppose what kind of experience was that? Because like part of me has always kind of toyed with the idea of it, but then I'm kind of going, oh, I don't know, it would just age me considerably.
Yeah,
More importantly, I'd say it would age my supervisor considerably, would be the thing. How did you find that experience?
yeah, it was so a bit like yourself. It was, I think I started in 2017 and I'd taken a 3-year break from when I finished my master's. And like yourself, I was toying with the idea, will I do it? Will I not? One of the reasons I did it was I know the UK, if you're in Ireland, the UK is a big job market for like sport and professional sport.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of the jobs over there require like HCPC registration. So I was like, I need to open up those opportunities. Now I haven't worked in the UK, but I wanted to open up those
yeah,
opportunities. I wanted to get a doctorate to open up those opportunities and registration with the HCPC. and then also challenge myself too. So that's one of the motivating reasons. And the other one was, well, I was still in my 20s at the time. I was like, uh, no mortgage, no kids. I was like,
Yes.
if I'm gonna do it, I'm
Now's
gonna
the time.
probably do it now. So I'm glad I did it. It was very challenging. If it probably wasn't for COVID, I don't know when I would have finished it because I was
Okay.
working full time as well. So I was lucky in that I was working as the sports scholarship manager in Athlone IT at the time, which is now TUS.
Yeah.
And I could use that as like case studies for the professional doctorate. Because I was managing the scheme and managing the athletes and supporting them as well. So I could balance both and use that in a way. So very beneficial experience. It's helped me in multiple ways in that I did my research on um, the transition through Irish underage squads
Okay, cool.
in football, soccer, and I was coaching with the FAI Emerging Talent Program at the time, so I could use that too, and that has helped me develop a better understanding of the game, transitions.
Mm.
It's allowed me to become accredited as a sports psychologist and also my UEFA badges, which then allowed me to get into a lecturing position, which then
Yeah.
eventually led to the opportunity with Washington Spirit. So at the time, you don't know where it can lead
Where
to,
it leads, yeah.
but it all sort of makes sense in hindsight, but it's a risk at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, it might pay off, it might not, but you're going to learn a lot about yourself and how you do your work. It doesn't necessarily lead to more jobs, uh, but it helps you develop your thinking, your competencies,
Mm.
and yeah, it opens up some more opportunities, but there's no guarantees in this industry as well.
Yeah, because I'm originally from a teaching background, so I would have been teaching and I even went teaching late-ish. But I was teaching for 12 years. Been interested in sports since I've been 18. I think I've been coaching GA since I've been 18. Um, but I found during the teaching that wasn't for me, and it was very much boxed in.
Yeah,
Tried applying for jobs, could be in a pharmaceutical plant, whatever it was, and nothing was sticking. And I was just like, I felt trapped in the profession. Um, so then COVID hit, and I did the executive coaching, and I goes, okay, yeah, I like this gig, but like even after doing that, I was nowhere near skilled enough or experienced enough to offer value to anyone. So I did a load of other things, then emotional intelligence practitioner, leader of transformational change, an MTU, and then the most recent degree then was my master's in Waterford. And I suppose how I came to the psychology piece was working with the court minors as an S&C assistant because I would have my master's from Tanta with that.
yeah,
And I came across, we had a clinical psychologist there who was brilliant, and we had a performance coach, but he was from the army. So he was kind of tying in the performance side of things. And both of them, then I was kind of looking and going, geez, this is an area I'm interested in. And I suppose my question is, especially from my point of view, was as a qualified teacher, you look at the standard subjects now in school,
yeah,
hasn't really changed in God knows how long. And it took me till I was in my 30s to really find an area that I absolutely would eat up in terms of books, in terms of podcasts, in terms of your social media content. LinkedIn is brilliant. I love it. I think it's absolutely class. So eat all that up. Like, what could we do more, do you think, to try and open up the minds of you, especially young kids? Because obviously you came from a sporting background,
yeah,
but like, how can we, I suppose, do more, and I suppose even make secondary school a little bit more interesting for kids where they kind of go, Jesus, oh yeah, I remember, David McHugh was in talking with sports psychology. Oh man, that was class.
yeah, yeah. I think it's trying to help young people understand the range of opportunities. But I think sometimes you got to go through experiences to figure out what you don't want to do, to figure out
True.
what you do want to
Yeah.
do. But like I think there's a that idea of I don't know trying something and not working out and going again is important, and I think that's important in psychology and sports psychology because that struggle is also what athletes go through.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said it. Um, but somewhere along my educational journey, somebody said that the best psychologists have like gray hair
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they've been through experiences
yeah,
in life, and then they can better help like people who are at a certain point in their life too, because they've got that experience.
yeah,
And I think during my master's, somebody said that like if you're a young sports psychologist working with a senior team, like let's say like 22, 23, just
mm,
finish your master's, but then you're working with a team as far as like 34, 35 years of age,
yeah,
that can be very daunting. But then when you get to that age and then you're working with people younger, you've got a bit more perspective and you
yeah,
can better help them through that journey. But I think one thing I focus on a lot now is with educating, let's say, people doing their accreditation in whether it's in America with CMPC or KCs, um, which is transferred from BASIS. But one of the things that I focus on a lot with them is it is a new world of work we're sort of moving into.
yeah,
And the idea of a job for life is it's still there. There's
yeah,
some jobs for life, and there's some people that want to do that, and that's okay. But there's also a new form of work that's more like gig work,
yeah,
it's short-term contracts, and that is a lot of what sports psychology is. Um, and what that means a lot of the time, particularly in Ireland, because I've experienced this myself and went through it,
yeah,
is I think there's a lot of work in sports psychology, but there's not one piece of work
yeah,
in a lot of contexts. You've got to make it up with lots of pieces of work.
yes, okay,
And for some people, that can be very daunting.
yeah,
And I think for young people now, whether they're in secondary school making decisions on the future, there's jobs out there that have not been created yet. Like a sports psychologist 20, 30 years ago was unheard of.
yeah,
I think of other roles in sport, performance analyst, sports scientist, like these things didn't exist, let's say 20, 30 years ago. And now they're sort of mainstream. So we don't know how all of that is going to evolve.
yeah,
So the key thing in any industry is developing skills. And skills, and with regard to sports psychology, are being able to have conversations, being able to empathize with people,
yeah,
being able to understand and do research, being able to critique research, being able to counsel someone to potentially change their behavior, to being able to present to a group, present information, uh, deliver creative workshops, deliver creative interventions, understand data qualitatively and quantitatively. And when you look at that broad list of skills as like a profession and forget about the title, like they're valuable skills
yeah,
that can be transferred to multiple different areas. But I think some people see sport and think, oh, that's sport.
yeah,
We strip that away and just focus on the skills. I think you mentioned applying for jobs in other industries. Those
yeah,
skills are valuable there. Now, the person looking at a CV or application likely has their own
yeah,
viewpoint, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean you're going to get through every application. Of course, you're not. But I think we need to focus more on skills and then the transferability of those skills
yeah,
rather than the profession, because we honestly don't know where it's going to go. And I think a big area in psychology, never mind sport, is going to be can we integrate data more,
okay,
particularly with AI and large language models. There's going to be innovations in that space with technology. Um, and I speak a lot with we have a data engineer and data science team in the club. I speak a lot about that with them around the innovations that are coming down the line around body posture. Like in baseball, you can track, they capture so many data points per second,
mm,
never mind minute, and they're analyzing like the joint angles, the facial expressions.
wow,
So they do that in baseball because it's maybe a bit more static.
yeah,
They can do that more accurately. But if they're doing that in baseball, let's look at 5 years down the line. They're going to be looking at body language and body language analysis, which is going to be
yes,
through video, which is going to be through data scientists, data engineers, storing, capturing, analyzing that data. And in some way, on that pipeline, you're going to need somebody with an expertise in behavioral science to be
Yeah.
able to like, give an interpretation of body language and all that. So those jobs I don't think are really created yet. Or if
Okay.
they are, I don't fully know what the job title is, but there's going to be a niche there somewhere.
Yeah.
I think the point I'm trying to make overall is okay, develop these skills, refine them, and try test them out. And you sort of don't know what way it will go.
And how do you see, even for the moment in the short term, how do you see AI? Is it a useful tool? Is it a nuisance? What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on AI. I think there was a big hype, would it be 12, 18 months ago? Um, and people are still trying to figure it out. I don't think people have been upskilled enough in it yet inside organizations. Again, speaking with people who know a lot more about it than me, it's dramatically decreased, let's say, coding time.
Yeah.
Like coding can, you can more or less get to write the skeleton of a code, and then their job is to then refine it.
Yeah.
So I think the second area, so that's just like speeding up some processes, and I think that principle can be applied across multiple areas. I think the big thing for AI to really take off for an organization, and I think this is a lot of sporting organizations. You got the sports scientists collecting data,
Yeah.
got the medical team collecting data, you've got your jump tests, you've got your strength and conditioning coach collecting data,
Yeah.
and you got your coach collecting data maybe for an external provider like Y Scout or StatsBomb.
Yeah.
Got your analyst collecting data and video data on your training session. So you've got like 10 different data sources.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is to centralize that. And until you can centralize the data, um, that's when AI can come in, I think, to
Mm.
generate new insights and automate processes.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that AI will do, will help automate processes. Now, in psychology, maybe if you're collecting questionnaires, it can help with that. Maybe in the future, it'll do video body analysis, body language analysis. That
Mm.
would be really valuable. Um, I think as sports psychologists, one thing it will probably help with is working with your data engineer to be able to collect data, store data, analyze it to develop new insights.
Yeah.
And I think new insights, particularly around, well, how do individuals and teams perform when we're ahead, behind, level,
Yeah.
different pressure moments, defining those parameters, being able to analyze them. And we've done a little bit of work on that and developed some dashboards around it. Um, and that's been sped up by AI, or sorry, been sped up by using AI to code some programs to
Yeah.
analyze the data. So I think that's a space that will be increasingly important. And I think there's some organizations already doing stuff around that.
This episode is brought to you by Sentinel Computers, trusted IT support for Irish businesses for over 20 years. From cybersecurity to cloud solutions, Sentinel Computers keeps your systems secure, compliant, and performing at their best. Visit sentinelcomputers.net to protect what matters most.
Okay, cool. And in terms of just a few questions now, and for anyone who is Mrs. working in the field here at home, or come here abroad, or whatever it may be, but we just kind of focus on Ireland
Yeah.
for the sake of conversation. I suppose you have people now who will just have the masters in sports and exercise psychology, like myself. And what you said about experience actually brings me back to what Steve Salas said. I had him on the podcast previously, and he's big about experience versus experiences.
Uh,
So, because he was kind of on about it in his own kind of socials that, people go for jobs and you don't have the experience, but his argument is, well, I have experiences, right? So, with psychology, you have people who have the undergrad and the masters, and then they'll do their training, become sports psychologists. You have people who are sports psychology consultants. You have people who I kind of know one or two, and I'd argue with them about it, who might just do a 6 week or 6 month cert and then they try and go in and work with teams. Like, I suppose, where does everyone fit in? And it's becoming a very competitive market in terms
Yeah.
of colleges now. Sports psychology is like S&C 15 years ago, where colleges were churning out graduates after
Yeah.
graduate after graduate. I suppose, where can people find their space, or what would you advise?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot more courses now. I think it's a subject that a lot of people are interested from multiple like perspectives, whether you're a coach, an ex-athlete, an executive, HR, like psychology and sports psychology sort of hits off in nearly all of those areas and more, like physios as well. So I think yeah, there's more courses, more graduates. It's a more competitive space
Yeah,
because it's not as unique maybe as what it used to be. So with that, so I mentor people through the MPCI, Mental Performance Coaching Institute, around two areas, cases, and help people get through their CMPC.
yeah,
And those accreditations are for some people, but they're not for everyone.
yeah,
And I'm very clear on that. Like I always ask people, like, why do you want to get accredited? For some people, you don't need to be accredited.
mhm,
But for some people, you do. It depends on where you want to live and what type of jobs you want.
yeah,
For some people, it may be just side work that they do, and that's fine. So do they really need to be accredited? That's just an example.
yeah,
So accreditation is important potentially for roles that people want to do. It's important for insurance, to get insured as a practitioner.
yeah,
And it's important for your professional development and your development of competence to bridge that gap. And this is the hardest spot I see, and I've experienced it myself, is you finished your master's, got all this knowledge. Where do I go next?
yeah,
And what I've sometimes seen is people are like, oh, I finished my master's, I'm going to go full time at this. And they set up a business, or they set up a space where they can like get paid through a business. And they just, I'm going to do this full time. And then after a year or two, they burn out
yeah,
because it's such a difficult industry to build your name up in. So what I always say to people is don't go full time into it straight away.
yeah,
Great if you've got a full time job in the space, but you need to make this sustainable. And that often means volunteering at the start.
yeah,
It's an unfortunate reality of the industry to get experience, but most importantly, to feel more confident in what you do and how you do it. And once you get those initial experiences, then you feel more confident and you can maybe charge for your services. You can
yeah,
say yes and no to particular pieces of work. And once you start doing that, you can maybe start charging a little bit more. And then you can develop an income target for a day's work, and then an income target for a week, and then a month. And then if you can make it repeatable, okay, now I've got a part-time business. And if you can get it to 10 to 15 hours or 20 hours, well, then you can maybe drop your full-time work to part-time work because
yeah,
you can fill in the other 20. And I think if you can learn to get repeatable, and it's not like a 9 to 5, so a repeatable monthly income
yeah,
rather than like a number of hours per week.
yeah,
And you can do that over a 6 to 9 to 12 month period. Now you've got a system.
yeah,
And if you've got a system, it's easier to go from 20 to 40,
yeah,
because you've got that traction. So what I say to people is that's like a path to sort of follow. And then
yeah,
everybody's like, okay, great. Thanks for the theory, but how do I go about doing it? And I think sports psychology used to be a niche for some people,
yeah.
but I think there's now niches in sports psychology.
Okay.
And I think you've got to find your niche and your voice in the industry, because see a lot of things online and a lot of practitioners, and there's lots of sports psychologists out there. But if you're looking for people to do business with you, and this is something that I focus on a lot with the people I mentor, is how do you create a sustainable business for you in your location, where you want to live. And a lot of the time it comes from your experience, your voice, and using sports psychology within that. So an example that I always use with people is there's injured athletes all around the country. In every parish, village, community, there's going to be injured athletes. It's the
Yeah.
nature of sport. So if there's an injured athlete and you market yourself as a niche of the I work with injured athletes as a mental performance coach or sports psychologist, and that's what you market yourself. Okay, those athletes might follow you, and then they're healthy, but they like what you're putting out, and then all of a sudden they get injured. They're out for 3 to 4 months. They're psychologically going through some of the challenges that you've been posting on.
Yeah.
At that point, emotionally, they're like, I need help. You've built up a relationship through social media. You may not have spoken to them, but they followed you and interacted with you. Now all of a sudden, okay, I need this support. Now they're probably going to reach out to you, because you've built up that traction and expertise in that niche.
Yeah.
And that could be, take the island of Ireland, that could be within a community.
Yeah.
And now you're the person to go to for the psychology of injury.
Okay.
And now you've got a niche within sports psychology within
Yes.
the industry. So you don't, my point to people is you don't need to do business with everybody in sports psychology, because if
Yeah.
you're too general, well, how do you stand out?
Yeah.
But if you can niche on something that links with you and your story, well, people buy into that. And I think people starting out need to learn that and find a niche. And it's not easy to find. And then two, it's okay, learning how to market yourself. And you spoke about my LinkedIn. So I was lucky enough through county council to get some grants to help me set up my business. One of those supports was through marketing. So I have somebody that helps me
Yeah.
market myself. We meet twice a month at different points, and we're going through what's the marketing strategy for your business. How do you get things across? So I think it's a skill we need to learn, and we're actually through the MPCI, we're running a module at the moment called Building a Sports Psychology Consultancy. And we've got people who were taken through a 12-week step-by-step process to, one, develop their philosophy of practice, but then two, how they go about selling their philosophy of practice. How do you build an audience? How do you build your product?
Okay.
How do you distribute your product? How do you actually make sales, like step by step? So that's a very long-winded answer, but it's something I'm very passionate about, because I went through the stage where I finished my master's. I spent 9 months trying to work for myself because I felt I had to
Yeah.
use my knowledge. It didn't work. Worked in a bank, worked part-time, left the bank full-time job to go part-time into sport work, and I had to build it all up. So I've been through all of that, learned the lessons, and trying to help people on the back end now learn from things I went through myself.
That's brilliant. Because I was actually looking at that myself. I have the video. I missed the live webinar you did. I have the video to go watch back. It's on my to-do list. So it's something I was kind of looking at as well. And in terms of just, I suppose we've 2 or 3 more questions and we're done. Again, with Ireland in mind, so someone who is maybe newly qualified or looking to get a kind of a body of work together, they manage to get in with a team or a few teams, whatever it may be. What would you do if you're that person and you're working with Team X? What are the first things you would do going in there?
Meet the coach, meet the captain or leadership group. One of the biggest challenges, let's say in an Irish context, let's say you're working with a GA team,
Yeah,
is time.
yeah,
And this, people think professional sport, you got loads of time. You have the same challenges.
yeah,
People don't want to stay longer than they have to
yeah,
anywhere. So people just want to be on the pitch. Athletes just want to be on the pitch and do that side of it. So if you can do it in G18, you can do it anywhere else as well. So first thing is time, and then how do you maximize the time that's available? So you can do some educational workshops. I don't think you can do that all the time. So I'd meet the coach, meet the captain, and I would just collect as much information as possible. I would help the coach really understand their game model. So let's say it's Gaelic football.
yeah,
do they really understand what how they can maximize the strengths of their team? So maybe they're small and quick team, or maybe
Yeah.
they're a very physical team. So
Yeah.
that can be two different styles of play. But two different styles of play means two different principles of play. So I would help the coach create, okay, this is how, these are the principles we want to execute when it's our goal kick. This is the principles we want to execute when it's their goal kick. This is how we want to execute in terms of how we high press or defend in a low block. So I'd be very clear on this is our style of play, principles of play, game model. If you can do that, you can then develop better sessions, as in training sessions.
Yeah.
Um, and then you can have the coach session plan. What that does then, it helps the coach deliver their training sessions better. And if you're talking about big bucket items that will have the biggest impact, if you can train better than you were before, you're going to see improvement
Yeah.
and probably more likely to win because now you're maximizing the time you have available. And then the coach is probably going to deliver a better message. And then you can get into, if you're training well, you can get into, okay, how do we build a culture around how we train? How do we build a culture around togetherness? Because if you're training badly, there's no point in having togetherness,
Yeah.
in my opinion. The training has to be executed well. Then we build togetherness. Then we build a vision, and then you can help the captains and leaders drive home a vision. You can, like things I've got teams to do before have been around. You got to write a letter to your teammates and read the letter out in front of them. Um, you've got to present three photos, one on the pitch, one off the pitch, and then your intention for the year.
Mhm.
And you can get loads of words and stories, and the coach can use them for messaging. But if your training isn't good, that's all feel good stuff
Yeah.
that won't make an actual difference. And the sports psychologists can really drive that side, but they really need to help the coach, I think, on strategy, game plan, how we train, how we review, and then we build togetherness around that. So that would be the area. That's veering into coaching in a
Mhm.
way. And that's like my bias because of my coaching background.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody might not feel comfortable in doing that, but I think it's just good planning,
Yeah.
is effectively what you're trying to do and help the coach execute that plan.
Yeah, I was working with teams this year. It was my first year kind of getting on the club circuit because I was with, say, Waterford doing the Masters. That finished up. I was lucky enough to get into Cork City Women's. That was for 18 or 19 months. And then I went into the clubs, kind of offering service to various clubs. I suppose the big challenge I actually had with that was some would the level of not cooperation is the wrong word. I suppose the level of buy-in. So some club or some coaches might just bring you in, do a workshop, and that's it. They don't
Yeah.
want to. They don't want to be there. They don't want to know what you did. Other coaches are there, and some coaches then I found were some may have been threatened by the whole experience. So how do you deal with that difficult coach who feels threatened and you're kind of coming, sitting down with them, helping plan a session, and they're like, "Well, come here, buddy. I'm the hurling coach, or I'm the football coach, or I'm the tennis coach, or whatever it may be."
Yeah, I think some coaches are like, oh, you go do that and you fix these problems.
Yeah,
So then before you even get in at all, you got to be very clear on that you're not here to fix problems and how you're gonna be there to support the coach. Because yeah, I've had that a lot.
yeah,
Um, but you can go in and deliver that workshop, but you're not going to be back for 3 weeks.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you've got to deliver something that's sustainable beyond you
yes,
coming back in. Because what happens a lot is you go in and deliver the workshop, you get these messages across, and then you're not back for 3 weeks. And then the players are like, well, you delivered that workshop the last time, but the coach still did X,
didn't
Y,
do
and
it.
Z.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what are we supposed to do? So there's that balance that when you're starting out, it's like to have the confidence to say, no, this is how we're going to do it.
yeah,
And sometimes you need to actually go and deliver the workshop, come back 3 weeks and experience the players saying, well, this happened in between. Be
yes,
able to say, okay, I'm not going to do that again.
yeah, yeah,
So there's
yeah,
a certain amount of just having to go through that to learn no, that's not how I want to do it.
Yeah, and that's there was once or twice now. I had a good years in learning and experience, but there was definitely a few uncomfortable moments. But again, that's kind of through growth and whatnot. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to go straight to the end. Right, I have five quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
All right. So our first one is, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Oof. Good question. Um, yeah, so just had our first child a month ago, a
Yeah.
month today. Uh, so I when I started out in 2014 to be working full time in sports psychology, working for myself and also working for Washington Spirit, I never thought that would be the case. And my wife has been with me throughout all of that.
Yeah.
And then just to see where we are today, first child, the challenges with working, choosing to work in sport. I don't have to work in sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
choose to, the struggle that goes with that.
Yeah.
Just to see yeah, where we are now, and where the journey we're going to continue to go on. I think, yeah, that's probably what I'm most
Brilliant.
proud of, the relationship we've kept and the future we're building as well with that.
What was the last thing that scared you?
Last thing that scared me. Uh, that's sort of a paradox because I say to people a lot, uh, in sport, moving from a stable, like let's say, lecturing job to professional sport
Yeah.
was scary, and the volatility of the league.
Yeah.
Uh, but then when I went and experienced it, I sort of realized that you got to play it as a paradox, that you sort of have to accept you're probably going to be out of work for a
Yeah.
while if you work in professional sport.
Yeah.
So you just have to embrace it. Um, so that, yeah, that was scary. And there was a whole host of other challenges that I won't get into now,
Yeah.
with that, like obviously moving to America, family, all of that.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a massive risk. I think it's paid off. I've enjoyed it. I'm still working in professional sport. I'm in like third year professional sport.
Brilliant.
Um, so yeah, that was definitely a scary moment.
If you walk into a chipper back at home, what's your go-to order?
Oh, pizza. Love my pizza.
Okay.
Yeah. The chipper here in Donegal does, I'm in Donegal town right now, does a good pizza.
Unreal.
Yeah.
What's your favorite genre of movie if you watch movies or TV?
Oh,
Or even favorite movie, whichever comes easier.
movie. The sporting documentaries right now, I'm loving them. Watching Welcome to Wrexham. I just finished the Birmingham one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that at the moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's that's it right now.
there's some really good sports ones.
Yeah.
And I suppose what are your kind of current short and medium term goals?
Ooh, that's a big one. Well, short term, go back in now, check on my daughter and my wife tomorrow. Everything's okay after being on a call for an hour, so that's very immediate. The big thing is, yeah, can I just make sure things are secure for my wife, my daughter? That's like a big picture thing, while
Yeah.
also accepting that there's risk in sport. So that's one side. Two, continue to build the business. The MPCI got 20 students right now. Really enjoying helping practitioners make their steps in the industry of sports psychology.
Yeah.
We're launching programs around helping coaches. We've got academically accredited programs. So it's been really interesting exploring how we can build that and help people in sport and outside of sport to continue to grow. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, again, more bigger picture. In sports psychology, I think it's very easy for us to be put into a box. Oh, you're the sports psychologist, you just do one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to grow myself, doing a course on sporting directorship, I'm trying to step into more leadership roles, because the biggest influence on culture is not the sports psychologist. I think it's the leadership in an organization.
Yeah.
And I think as sports psychologists, we're often overlooked for those type of roles.
Yeah.
More the, I don't know, the head S&C becomes the performance director.
Yes.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
scientist becomes performance director. But when you look at our skill set is equally applicable.
Yeah.
We might not have the domain expertise on physical conditioning, but we have the understanding of people dynamics, leadership that I think
Yeah.
we can step into those positions. So that's just a more longer term area that I'm looking to grow in, and I want to see more sports psychologists, not just be sports psychologists, but be leaders in the
Yeah.
sporting industry in a way.
Brilliant. David, I want to say, look, thanks so much for giving me your time. I must say I really enjoyed the chat. Some really golden nuggets there for myself, which and I'll go back and listen to it. And for anyone who is in the field and looking to gain that extra bit of knowledge. David, where can people find out more about you?
LinkedIn is probably the best, so just connect with me on LinkedIn or website www.thempci.com.
Brilliant, David. Come here. Thanks so much, boy, and I really appreciate your time. We'll talk again soon.
No problem. Thanks, Dennis.
Cheers, buddy.